Can I tell you something? That dream yoga retreat you're planning to lead, the one where you're sipping coconut water on a tropical beach while your students find enlightenment? Yeah, that's not how it actually goes down. Here's what nobody tells you. You might end up feeling like you're hosting a 5-day dinner party where you can never leave the kitchen. Or worse, you could find yourself on a bus full of motion-sick yogis winding through mountain roads, wondering how this became your responsibility. But here's the thing. Leading yoga retreats can absolutely transform your teaching business and create life-changing experiences for your students. You just need to know the secrets that separate the retreat leaders who thrive from those who burn out after their first attempt. This is Yoga Teacher Confidential, and I'm Sage Rountree. Today, I'm bringing you my colleague, Amy Boerner, who's built a thriving retreat business from scratch. She's going to share exactly what she wishes she'd known before leading her first retreat, including why she now requires $1,000 deposits and why she'll never cook for her students again. We are talking real numbers, real mistakes, and real solutions. So whether you're dreaming of leading retreats or you've already got one on the books, this is the episode for you. Amy's about to save you from some very expensive lessons. Amy, I'm so excited to have you here. You are my fun collaborator, and I know that this is going to be one of our longer podcast episodes on Yoga Teacher Confidential because you and I can yap when we get together.
Oh, definitely.
So start by telling us what possessed you to start a yoga retreat business.
Wow. Well, I think that it combined everything I love to do. I love to travel. I absolutely love yoga, obviously, but I also like to plan and I like to organize and I like to make people happy. And so this seemed like a great thing to do. Sidebar, my husband and I opened a yoga studio in January of 2020 and obviously closed down in March of, well, you had to close down your studio too. But for a brand new business, it was pretty devastating. And the nice thing about doing yoga retreats is that there really is no capital investment. And so this was another way for me to go back into a yoga business, which is what my dream has always been, but not to have as much risk and actually get to travel and do some really fun things.
Perfect.
So,
I love it. So
yeah.
what goes into making a yoga retreat a success?
Oh gosh. So many things I've learned along the way, because I would say that, each yoga retreat I do gets a little better. So I think one thing that makes yoga retreats a success is just keep doing them because you'll get better every time. But the first thing I would say is to find a location that is suitable for a yoga retreat. And I've had the most luck, believe it or not, I've had the most luck with going internationally because I find that people who want to get away for a yoga retreat, at least the audience that I'm after, they want to go someplace exotic, new. They want it to be a vacation and a yoga retreat. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't do a local one and have it really be successful. But for me personally, I've been heading for the international retreats. And so I actually have stumbled upon both of my favorite locations based on one, a friend who was there and recommended it to me as a great place for a yoga retreat. And then the other one just was near close proximity to a town that I really love. So I found them that way. But a good yoga retreat venue obviously has to have a great space for yoga. It doesn't have to necessarily be a yoga studio, but it has to be a large room with yoga. It's really awesome if it is a yoga studio because then students don't have to bring their mats and their blocks and all that kind of thing. So both of the locations I've gone internationally have those things. So that's great. The other thing you need to do is plan way in advance. And people often don't decide till the last minute, but you need to have your plans in place because these yoga retreat centers, they're wonderful and they fill up quickly. So you want to have your plan. And so I think those are the top two things. But then the other thing is you need to be really specific with what are the expectations for the retreat. And so I have a website and I use my website for advertising my yoga retreats. I also advertise on Instagram and Facebook and such, but my website is where I guide everyone. And on my website, I spell everything out. what is included, what is not included. And I think that's really important for students to know. People want to know, I'm new to yoga. Is this okay for me? Or I'm an advanced yogi. Am I gonna learn anything new? They want to know those things. And so I'm very, very honest about what the yoga retreat entails, what's included, what's not included. I usually talk about how much the transportation typically is because people want to know. Everyone's worried about the money they're spending. And then I just find that great people end up signing up for yoga retreats. I have not had any stinkers. It's been fantastic. So it's
I don't
lovely.
think that's by accident, though. I think that's a consequence of you being really clear on whom you're serving, like who you're calling them in. They're coming because you brought them. It's not just like, oh, this rando happened to stumble upon my website and decide that this was the vibe. Like there's an affinity there. And when the alignment is already in place, then you're almost guaranteeing a better experience on the ground when you arrive because you did the pre-work.
I think you're right. I think you're right. Because if I just said yoga retreat and didn't tell them, everyone has a different idea about what a yoga retreat is. Are we going to be doing yoga 8 hours a day? Some yoga retreats, yes. Mine, no. Mine, in fact, I will tell you, we typically 3 yoga practices a day. And I found this formula that works really well for my students. And that is I do something that's kind of spicy. And then I do 2 classes that are appropriate for all levels. And the spicy class and one of the all level classes is in the morning. The early one is for the spicy because I find the people who like spicy don't mind getting up earlier. And so
How
you can
early is
they can
early?
oh, it's not even that early. I mean, heck, it's like vacation early. So it's 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
It's 8 o'clock in the morning. But for some people, when they're on what they perceive as a vacation also, that seems really early. So I usually
Mhm.
do my spicy flow about 8, and then about 9, I'll do probably just like a gentle flow. And my spicy folks often stay for that one just to chill down. And then in the evening, I either do restorative and yoga nidra, or we'll do a yin class. So it's something kind of mellow. And because we've probably done something really fun and physical during the day, like a hike or gone kayaking or gone snorkeling, and that just works really well.
What
Yeah.
proportion of the day are you spending with your students outside of the 3 classes you're teaching?
Okay. Well, this is something I've learned. I would say 100% my first retreat. I felt like I was hosting a 5-day dinner party. And I wanted to make sure everyone was happy all of the time. And so every activity, I was always present at the pool when they were at the pool. I was always present at every meal and, everything like that. And it was great. And I enjoyed it. But I will tell you, I was so tired at the end. And so as I continue with my yoga retreats, I'm realizing I have to go snorkeling with them today because they're going to have a blast. And it doesn't matter if I'm there or not. It has nothing to do with me. And the guides, are fantastic. And so if I just hang out by the pool or if I go to my room and regroup or take a nap, that's okay. So to answer your question about the percentage, it's gone from 100 to probably about 75.
Uh-huh. And are you eating meals with them?
Depends on the location. One of my favorite locations is Dominica, and we can talk about that a little bit more later. But Jungle Bay in Dominica is just it's got my heart, and that location I love because breakfast and lunch you just go whenever you want, and so that's a nice time where I can grab my breakfast and sit by myself. And I find that people don't say, "Hey, can I sit with you, Amy?" Because I think they recognize most people recognize, Amy needs some time, but I could. And then lunch is order off the menu. And so people just eat whenever they want. So I would say that dinner, though, every night we eat together. Topia Retreat, which is awesome also, and that's in Baja Peninsula, Mexico. There, theirs is a very intimate setting, and we do eat all 3 meals together, and lunch and dinner are served like by people. They come and they put their plate on. It's a pre-arranged menu. It's absolutely fantastic. I feel like it was the best Mexican food I've ever had. It was so good.
And then I
Yeah.
think you have also planned some retreats where you were way more involved with everything from start to finish. compare and
Yeah.
contrast what that experience is like for you as the retreat leader versus going to a place that is equipped to support you more fully.
Great question, because when I first started thinking about this idea of retreats, it was in that COVID time when, classes were still being held at studios, but they were masked. And I thought, I have a group of students that had been doing classes in my backyard. Let's just have a retreat, make everyone have a COVID test, and it'll be our little cocoon group. And so I rented an Airbnb, and there are many Airbnb, VRBO, cabin places you can rent that have plenty of room, and they might even have a big, rec room for yoga, or who knows? You
Mhm.
can rent anything. And then my husband, because he's a chef, I thought, oh, he can do the food. And I went way overboard by sending these very complicated menu request things to students, like, are you a vegetarian? Are you vegan? Are you gluten free? You know, blah, blah, blah. I wanted to make everyone so happy. And I gave the menu to Eric, and he was like, wow, this is going to be a little complicated because we have like 6 different menu preferences here. And it is important that people get to eat what they want, but I do also find, like, make sure you have one vegan option. Make sure you have one gluten-free option, but don't try to do everything for everyone, or you will go crazy. So, yeah, that took a lot more effort on my part, and that particular retreat was canceled because 2 of my crew got COVID before we even started. And so I just canceled the whole thing because I just felt like, okay, it's too soon. Like, but yes, I've done it. I've done it another time, and I just did dinner. We did dinner for everyone, and that worked. That worked okay. We did a lot of prep work ahead of time, but I will tell you, it adds a lot of stress. And what if they don't like it? And then it's like dinner party on steroids. It's like entertaining your new in-laws for the first time. There's just a lot of pressure. So
It is. It's a
I don't
dinner
like
party with your partner's boss, and that's what it feels like the
exactly.
whole time. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
I learned
yeah.
pretty early on that, A, I'm not really the retreat type. I like to be a hostess, but only up to a particular point. I do a lot better when I go to an established center like Kripalu, where they handle everything, and I kinda hide out when I'm
Yes.
not interacting with my students. That just as an extroverted introvert, I think manages my own energy the best so that I can serve my students well. The teaching portions of the retreat or training are happening, but another thing I learned from my first, like, kinda DIY, like, hosting my own yoga and running retreats was I had to bring a cruise director, and I would, bring my husband, Wes, and he would be kind of the face of the couple and do a lot of the schmoozing and socializing because I just couldn't do I did not physically have the energy, let alone mentally and
Right.
emotionally, to be doing that.
Agreed. Agreed. I think that it's really important for anyone who hosts a yoga retreat to really check in with who they are. I mean,
Mhm.
and what they're comfortable doing. And I would also recommend that you start small. You start, or maybe not even small, but start with a lot of assistance. Start at a place that does everything for you. And then when you're really
Mhm.
comfortable with the idea of a retreat, like, "Oh, I wish I had more time with these people," then maybe change it, or, "Oh, I wish I was cooking for these people," which I doubt many people are ever gonna say.
No. It sounds nice for a hot minute while you're thinking about it, but no, you really, really don't wanna be making that kind of commitment.
No. And I think you'll be a better yoga teacher, honestly. You'll be more present if you don't have to think about all those details. And really, ultimately, that's what it's all about, is being present for your students. They don't care if you are, teaching them how to do a handstand for the first time in their lives. They don't care about that at all. They just want your presence, and they want you to notice them and pay attention
Mhm.
to their needs. And so, yeah, it's a big, big lesson. I will tell you, and I think I mentioned this to you earlier, but I think it's a funny thing to note, is that when I did my first yoga retreat internationally, I didn't even make a penny off of it on purpose. It was probably a dumb thing to do, but it took a lot of pressure off of me. I just charged my fee, and I told everyone, "Okay, guys, you are my group. I called them my beta group." And I said, "And after this retreat, you have to give me honest feedback. You have to allow me to use your pictures all over my website." And there was a third thing. "Oh, you need to tell all your friends how great it was if you enjoyed it." And
Yeah.
I quickly got 20 people signed up because heck, that was a heck of a deal. And we had a blast, but it took so much pressure off of me for that first
Right.
retreat. So I don't think you'd have to do that. But I'll tell you what, I learned a lot, and they took their jobs very seriously and gave me incredible feedback. And I use every suggestion that they gave me. So, you might want to just let two of your friends go at your cost. You don't have to let everyone go.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great
Yeah.
idea, though. I used a beta group when I created Mastering the Art of Yoga Sequencing, my mentorship membership, and it was so informative for me. And that program is what it is today because of that beta group. And they didn't even really know what they were signing up for, so they were open and they helped me
It's
build it into
awesome.
something beautiful. But I needed that kind of feedback, so I can see a good argument for maybe not the whole group, but having at least a few people come at a cut rate with the promise to lay it on you and really tell you what's working and what isn't working. And you need them to be the kind of people who you appreciate and want to hear feedback from, but it's really powerful.
Having a test group is a great idea. And I think after every retreat, it's a good idea to send a questionnaire because one, you get great feedback, but also it keeps a connection to your students and they realize that it's not a one and done. Like you're not giving them this retreat and then don't care what they thought. It's a nice way of keeping the connection. And also, I have to say that my students have like all become friends. And, I have students that came from Washington State and California who are regular communicators with my friends in North Carolina and Georgia and, Maine. It's wonderful that they built these connections and they plan hopefully to meet again at one of my yoga retreats.
Oh, I love it. And getting that feedback, plus the feedback, the constructive feedback that helps you grow, but also the testimonials that you can use as social proof to pull more people in. Tell me where you're finding your retreat students. How do they get to you?
That's a great question. And fortunately, I've been teaching yoga a really long time. And I have a pretty good community in the Triangle area, which for people who are watching this, it's, Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill, North Carolina. But I realize that, it's going to run out. I mean, there are plenty of people there, but I don't know everybody.
Mhm.
So I have leaned really heavily on just spreading the word to everyone I know, all my yogis. I'm fortunate, I guess, that I had a really strong online community during COVID, post yoga studio. I taught 2 classes a day for 2 years from my living room, and I had students not just in North Carolina or even in this country. I had some international students. And so all of them, they're on my mailing list. I let them know when I'm doing a retreat, and I ask that they kindly share the information. So right now, I am doing more of a, friends of friends type situation. I do find that Instagram has brought me a few people. I will say that you have to be cautious because Instagram can also, I'm sure you've seen this in your business, Instagram can bring you bots and creepy people you don't necessarily want on a retreat. And so I make sure that every single person who comes on my retreats, I have a video chat with them before they come. I do it I mean, if it's someone I know, I might skip that part. But if it's someone I've never met before, I feel like it's my obligation as the leader of the retreat to assure that the retreat is comfortable and safe. And, I can't control anybody's behavior. It's not my responsibility. However, I just feel like it's my obligation to kind of screen people. And most people are absolutely fine. But, you just get a vibe when you have a video chat with someone and the questions they ask are a little bit off. And then I can say, oh gosh, you know what? That spot just filled up, or I don't think this is the retreat for you.
Yeah, well, that's a great way to
Yeah,
manage the expectations as well as to, yeah, ensure the cohesiveness of the group. But for you to make sure that people understand, like, what the level of physicality is going to be, what the quality of the food is going to be, like, how much interaction they're going to have with you, all of that ensures that everybody has the best experience.
absolutely. And, I teach a free yoga class online every Sunday, and anyone can come to it. It's free. It will stay free. And the reason I do that is that if someone is interested in going on one of my yoga retreats, I want them to know who I am, what my vibe is, what my style is. And so if they're asking me questions about it, I'll say, hey, why don't you come to a couple of my Sunday classes and we can stay afterwards and talk. And so I have gotten people to come, even people I know who aren't really into yoga. They started coming to my yoga classes and they're like, oh, I can do this. This is fun. And so I love it. And it keeps me also connected to a larger community that I wouldn't have if I were, just teaching in a couple studios. So
That's a
yeah,
fantastic marketing tool and, yeah, a great way for folks to make sure that they align with what you're going to be offering. What else do
sure.
you wish
Yeah.
you had known at the beginning of your retreat leading
Whoa.
experience?
That's a really great question too, because I wish I'd known that you need to ask, you need to request a deposit that hurts to lose
Mhm.
because, I guess I might be cheap because to me, a deposit of $500 would hurt me to lose. I mean, I'll be fine without it, but you know, I wouldn't put $500 down on something if I weren't. But I realize that a lot of people don't mind losing $500 or even $750. So I am getting to the point where my deposits are a lot higher. They're at the $1,000 level, but my retreats typically are around $2,500.
Mm.
And the reason I do that is because if someone drops out, I always require paid in full at least a month before the retreat because that's what most of the places want their money by then.
Mhm.
And you can be left, with an obligation. You contracted for 10 rooms and you've got, not enough people to fill them or something. And so that just assures that I have the money to cover my expenses should someone drop out. With the first retreat I did, I also said, I'll give you your deposit back if I can find someone to fill your spot, but I'm not doing that anymore
Mhm.
because I'd still rather have a person in that spot, and that gives people the permission to feel like, oh, if I decide I don't want this, I probably can get my money back. And
Brilliant.
I'm not trying to trick anybody. I just don't want to. It's a business for me. I don't want to lose money. So
Yeah, the numbers have got to work out for you. I mean, as much as we wish we could all be giving yoga away for free, the only way we can do that is when yoga is also paying our bills and covering our expenses and not burning us out.
absolutely. And we need to realize our value. And I know you're really good about that because I think as yoga teachers, we tend to be people that are compassionate and you want to give. And, we probably do a lot of giving in our lives, but we also need to realize that, we have a dollar amount that we're worth.
Mhm.
And so the other thing this is a silly thing, but the other thing I would have done differently is, and sometimes you don't know until you know, is providing packing lists, like really specific packing lists. And you don't really know when you go to a location. You can guess, you can ask the people there, but there are certain things like, for example, when you go to Dominica, there's a drive from the airport to Jungle Bay. It's a beautiful drive. It's fascinating. The driver tells you all about this interesting stuff as you're driving. But if you're a person who has motion sickness, you're not going to like it too much because you're in the mountains and it's curvy. And I didn't know this. And I had a student who got really motion sick. And I know that sounds like a very small thing, but on my second retreat there, I told people, hey, if you get motion sickness in a car, make sure you take care of yourself. And I even told them about these little glasses you can buy on Amazon. They're really funny and they keep the horizon always level. They're pretty cool. But anyway, so people bought those, people took their Dramamine, whatever they needed,
Yes.
and no one got sick. But on
Love
that
it.
first trip, one person got sick. When one person gets sick,
Oh,
it
no.
prompts other.
This is Yoga
Yeah.
Teacher Confidential. Like, we are here to
Yeah.
tell them secrets, but woo,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. No, and I wasn't, and I wasn't on the bus because that's another thing that I think is important to know. You need to come as a teacher a day early at least to get the lay of the land. And then if you can do it at all, stay a day late.
Mhm.
Stay a day late just so you can relax and enjoy this space. And it will make your likelihood of doing it again much higher because you have that day to just kind of process and not travel and not burn yourself out. So going back with the group, everyone's a little bummed leaving, and having to sit in the airport with your group is just
Anticlimactic.
it's yeah, I'll just let them go, and then you stay by the pool and, open a bottle of champagne.
Yeah, I love it. This is why we're
Yeah, yeah.
friends. Yeah, I love
Yes,
it.
I know. Champagne is your favorite word.
It is. So, look at the bubbles behind me. So, before we move on to talk more about, and because this is Secrets like Yoga Teacher Confidential, I want to point out that Amy
Yeah.
is going to come to Comfort Zone Yoga and give a whole hour-long call about what she's learned leading retreats. So, if you have hard questions for Amy, if you want to hear like percentages and talk numbers, you'll definitely want to come to Amy's call.
When we have the comfort zone conversations and the topic is yoga retreats, I would be happy to answer any questions, but I will come with some slides, best practices. I'll talk about finances. I'll talk about liability waivers, also things like extra medical insurance, recommending that to your students. I will also talk about doing a general yoga retreat as opposed to a specific yoga retreat, and also talk about theming because I always have a theme attached to my yoga retreat. In fact, my upcoming December retreats, because they're right in the middle between Thanksgiving and Christmas, I'm doing cultivating gratitude and cultivating peace. And everything we do will kind of come back to that, which we could all use in that crazy holiday season. So.
I love it. So this is going to be
Yeah.
a value-packed call, especially because it costs free dollars and free cents. So folks can sign up at the link in the show notes, or they can come to Comfort Zone Yoga and join the Zone, which is our free community focused on teacher development, and sign up there. There will also be a recap afterwards. So RSVP as a yes, even if you know you won't be able to make it live. It's on Thursday, October 9th at 2 p.m. But again, a replay will be available. Now I want to talk about Dominica. Tell us what makes
Yes.
Jungle Bay so special, and then tell the people what you and I are scheming on for 2026.
So excited. Well, Jungle Bay is this incredible resort in Dominica. It's on the southwest side, so it's the Caribbean side. Dominica, in case you don't know, it's between Martinique and Guadeloupe, and it's just an incredible, gorgeous tropical and volcanic island. So I think any place in Dominica is probably gorgeous and wonderful, but Jungle Bay is perfect for yoga retreats or just yoga in general because they have two absolutely gorgeous studios. They're open air. They do have air conditioning if it's, brutally hot, but I've never turned the air on when I've been there because there's a breeze off the Pacific.
Yeah.
But gorgeous studios. They have a spa and they have beautiful rooms. Gorgeous rooms that they're villas and villa suites. Also, the food there is incredibly healthy, incredibly fresh, organic, local. A lot of it is actually grown on the property. They really use a lot of local herbs. In fact, everyone who comes there is welcome to participate in an herbal medicine class, and where you just learn about all the medicinal plants that are there. And it's a pharmacy. And people in Dominica, it's in the blue zone. People often live to be over 100. And it's because of the way they eat, and they walk a lot. They walk a lot because it's hilly.
Mm-hmm.
So also, I can't talk about Jungle Bay without saying that the owner, his name is Sam Raphael. He's one of the most interesting men I've ever met in my life. He embodies yoga, everything. He is mindful. He is present. He has this balance between, stira and sukha. He goes hard. Very successful developer, but he also knows when to sit back and chill. He's a rags to riches story, and he gives back to the community. And I like to support Jungle Bay because he supports the people of Dominica. And it just feels like it's a place to do yoga.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I love it. But the exciting part is that for the first time ever at Jungle Bay, ever, there is going to be a yoga teacher training, and Sage and I are leading it. So I will be doing the segment at Jungle Bay, but Sage is going to do the first part virtually in a very hybrid format. So it's going to be flexible for so many different people. And then after, and that will start as early as January 1st, correct, Sage?
Yep, I'll have the whole curriculum good to go by January 1st. It's self-paced. People can come in and move through it on their own timeline. So you'll get some of me and some of Amy. You'll get some of the like online working on your own time, the kind of the heady stuff, the pedagogy I'm here to help you with. And then on the ground in Dominica with Amy, like the in your body stuff and the practice teaching, which is a huge opportunity as well.
Yeah, Jungle Bay has really embraced this idea. And when I brought up the idea of Sage and I doing this, they were like, yes, we would love that. And so they're willing to give our students opportunities to practice teach with the actual visitors to Jungle Bay. Not everyone goes there for yoga. They come there for hiking, free diving, whale watching, relaxation. And so we can offer practice teaching to these actual people. And I know that from my yoga teacher training, from my 200 hour, I remember it was hard to get in your practice teaching. We had to teach to each other, and then that took all of our time. So you're actually going to be able to teach to, or students are actually going to be able to teach to real people and get feedback in real time. And then the other really cool thing is, as you know, SIVA is a big part, contribute, giving back, charitable work. Jungle Bay is going to help us find a really impactful community project. And we will spend a day probably, working in a school or cleaning something up. They had a terrible hurricane a few years back. And because it is kind of a poor country outside of the walls of Jungle Bay and other resorts, there's some work to be done. And so we can really make an impact. We can make an impact on the country. So it's pretty cool. I'm really excited.
I'm really excited too. So it's going to be a Yoga Alliance registered 200-hour yoga teacher. But if folks have already done a 200 and are listening, it doesn't hurt to do it twice. You're going to learn a whole lot of different stuff when you learn from different teachers. And especially if you have been teaching for a little while after your first 200, always really interesting to come back around the spiral and start again with experienced eyes instead of naive eyes. So I'm really excited about it. We are here to answer anybody's questions. You can hit me up. You can contact Amy via her website, which I'll put in the show notes. And we are really excited to see y'all on the ground in Dominica. Or Amy is, at least. We'll see if I make it. I want to.
I hope you get there. I think we should just go next weekend.
So not only is Amy my colleague, but she's also my student. She did her 500-hour yoga teacher training with me, and Amy has seen inside both teaching yoga to athletes, which is my signature program, and my 300-hour required module. It's actually 150 hours. It's half of my 300-hour YTT, Mastering the Art of Yoga Sequencing, my mentorship membership. Amy, before I let you go, do you want to share any secrets of what goes on behind the curtain in either of those programs?
Yeah, I'll tell you what I love about it and what I've learned. So I love the fact that Sage has set it up so that it is very flexible. I join whenever I can, and I'm busy like we all are, and so sometimes it's always best, I think, if you join the live calls because you can have interaction. But Sage has podcast, there's a podcast version. You can always, everything is recorded. And so that's really fantastic. But what I love is that it's just a group of yoga teachers from all over the country and the world, to be honest. And you get so many different perspectives and some really good peer-to-peer feedback, peer-to-peer. And I also love the fact that Sage gives us some, she calls them recipes, and they're just little nuggets of sequences that we can incorporate into what we're doing now. And it's just nice. I think sometimes as teachers, I know I'm blabbling. I knew what I was going to say, and then I got all bleh. But sometimes as teachers, and I'm speaking for myself, you kind of get stuck in your own patterns. And this has allowed me to look at things differently and rethink some of these things I've been doing, because I've been teaching yoga a really long time. And I'm like, it doesn't have to be that way. And I have the freedom to experiment and get some fresh eyes on my experiments and get some feedback. So I really love that. And then the teaching yoga for athletes, skipping over to that part, if you don't mind, I'd love that, because I thought I knew how to teach yoga to athletes. I've been teaching yoga to athletes my whole yoga career. I have athletes in there. Sometimes I have spillovers from UNC's basketball and football team, they come. Sometimes, I'm working with someone who's a triathlete. Those are all athletes. I'm like, I know what I'm doing. But the yoga for athletes really has made me look at it in a different way. I like I can't remember what you call it, Sage, off the top of my head, but, just like the fact that when an athlete is really high in their training, the yoga should be really low. It's
This
the
principle of
balance.
inverse
And
proportion, right, is
thank
that
you.
we don't wanna
Principle.
overload
Yeah.
them. So we look in that program, we look through the lens of exercise physiology and find what is
Yes.
yoga's place in an athlete's training regimen.
Yeah, I love this activity I just completed where one of the suggested activities, for example, was to look at training schedule for a sport that you're interested in. So I did basketball because I recently had a request to create a proposal for a basketball and NBA team's yoga retreat. And I was like, yes. So I'm going to do basketball. So I compared 3 different training programs for basketball that I found online and looked at them, and they had a lot of similarities, but they also had some differences. And then it makes me wonder, like, hmm, you know, which one is best? And then learning what I've learned from Sage about training, I have opinions about which ones I think are best, but I'm not a basketball trainer. But it's really interesting to think, how would I complement each of these phases with yoga? And that's what I think the purpose of the activity was. And I've certainly learned a lot and realized I've made some mistakes in the past. Hopefully never caused anyone, to lose a race or anything. It's really interesting. And I think another thing that I've learned or started to think about in the course of the yoga for athletes is I could really capitalize on this with my retreat business. I could do day retreats for athletes. I could reach out to teams local to, I don't live in the triangle anymore. I could reach out to different teams and say, hey, I can help, and this is why. And I have some solid background, and, I will be a professional. Whereas before I was a yoga teacher who knew a little bit about athletes, and now I will be a yoga teacher who knows a lot. So it's really valuable to me, Sage.
Oh, yay. I love to hear that. And I love how you looped it around full circle, like back to, and now I can use this skill in my yoga retreat business, which is fantastic.
Absolutely.
Amy, thanks for coming on. I hope that folks will
Yeah,
join us
mhm.
for Yoga Retreat Hosting 101, which you will
Oh,
be leading on October 9th. And then we also do have scheduled in Comfort Zone Conversations an info call about our 200-hour yoga teacher training. So if folks are interested in the best of both worlds, you get the quality education, the pedagogy that I'll be teaching you, and then also this fantastic trip to Dominica to do service, to study with Amy, and to eat that delicious food, maybe take a dip in the
yes.
Caribbean. Yeah, then come to
Yeah.
the info call and we will be happy to tell you more about it. So there you have it, the unfiltered truth about building a successful yoga retreat business. From Amy's beta group strategy to her 3 classes a day formula, these are the insights that only come from actually being in the trenches. Remember, Amy's going to dive even deeper into the numbers and logistics in our free Comfort Zone Yoga conversation on October 9th, 2025 at 2 p.m. Eastern. We are talking liability waivers, insurance, deposits, and all those nitty-gritty details that can make or break your retreat. Head to the show notes for the registration link. It's completely free, and there will be a replay if you can't make it live. If you're catching this way after the fact, look for a replay on my YouTube channel. And if you're ready to take your teaching to the next level by revisiting the basics, remember, Amy and I are cooking up something special for 2026. Our hybrid 200-hour yoga teacher training that combines online learning with an incredible experience at Jungle Bay Eco Resort in Dominica. You'll get the pedagogy and the theory with me online, then head to Paradise with Amy for the hands-on practice teaching. Plus, you'll actually teach real resort guests, not just your fellow trainees. Links to everything we talked about are in the show notes, including Amy's website if you want to check out her upcoming retreats. Remember that your teaching journey doesn't have to be a solo adventure. I'm here for you, Amy is here for you, all your colleagues in Comfort Zone Yoga are here for you. Sometimes the best secrets are the ones we share. Until next time, keep teaching, keep learning, and start thinking about where you'd love to lead your first or next yoga retreat. I'm Sage Rountree. This is Yoga Teacher Confidential. See you next time.